I very much welcome Nadia and Peter,
Hi.
who will be talking about a very special approach of something with scaling agile in a very regulated environment at Skyguide in Switzerland.
Yes.
So please, guys, take it away.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. We will talk about our experience, mostly about the experience of Skyguide, how SAFE was established there in a highly regulated environment. And just imagine how critical it is when airplanes would fall down during their flights or collide in the air. So it's immediate death for the people, so it's the kind of seriousness we will see in here.
Yep.
You have it, yeah?
Okay. So what we will present you during this session, it's more or less from where we start, where we end. And with all what happened in the travel, with challenges, difficulties, but also a lot of results at the end. So maybe some words on myself. So I am Nadia Posatini. I started to work as a software developer in 15, 20 years ago. I did a lot of other activities, but still around software engineering. And now I am the compliance management expert for the technical department at Skyguide, with the Swiss air navigation service provider for civil and military traffic. And now maybe for you, some words?
Very short. I started programming at the age of 15 for money. And I did that to found my ambition to become a professional windsurfer. Then I lived 2 years in Hawaii. I was part of the national team. And then I found out that engineering is really at my heart. That's what I want to do. So I studied that, and that's why my life is. I was working at the large companies with 20,000 developers. I was responsible for methods, life cycles, processes there. It was in a regulated environment, Credit Suisse. I love to talk about my work. I have the privilege to be trained in SAFE by Dean Lovingwell himself. That was in 2011, so it's quite early. Yeah, and I'm also in several other certifications. I started with Agile in 1999 with extreme programming. Kent Beck, he wrote his book in Zurich. I don't know if you know that. There are a lot of Swiss people acknowledged in his book, so I know him personally because we work together at UBS. Then I'm creator of Applied SAFE. That's a standard implementation of SAFE. We will talk about that in a minute as well. And I'm my part-time. I'm also president of the board for computer science at the Swiss Association of Quality, which represents about 80% of the Swiss industry. So we have a video for Skyguide to present. Huh? Now we will, because
This is a way to present my company. Where it's really amazing also to work in this challenging domain. And also when you want to put in place the Scaled Agile Framework, it's really challenging due to a high regulated environment in which we are working. And so we started back in 2005, so some years ago, with a software engineering method, but based on the rational unified process. So one of the most waterfall delivery model. And
as we heard, even Dean was involved in there as well.
Yeah, he is. And it was focusing on application. And with this, we did it more or less for 10 years with a lot of evolution. And after that, Skyguide decided to start a strategic program called Virtual Center. It's about how to improve our capacity to deliver our service. And with this, in the tranche 2 of the program, in 2017, we did the Agile Release Train, the first Agile Release Train at Skyguide. And with this, we work in a kind of hybrid quality framework, still with some waterfall, with some agile, and all these things. And at the end of the tranche 2, we had to formalize the current practices for the Agile Release Train. And we do it with the Skyguide Agile Release Train. And this will take a lot of challenges, because it was already used for 17th program increment. The Agile Release team members take already some habit of way of working. And we say, okay, with what we know, with what we learn during all this life cycle, what are we able now to do it as a lean quality management system? How we will integrate it in our landscape process at the company level. And we decided to use it really at the basis for all the software development done in the company for this. And there was really a lot of discussion around how to perform this new way of working, not only from a process perspective, but also from the tools, how to use them, how to ensure that they are used in the same way in all the teams that are part of the Agile Release Train. And it was also how we will document and develop this solution in a proper and agile manner. And it was really challenging us to be able to do all these elements. And with this in mind, we say, okay, we need to leverage the Scaled Agile Framework Enterprise for our needs, for really what we need, we want to do at Skyguide, with the existing process asset library that we have. So we started with a waterfall asset library for software engineering, and we say, okay, how we can now change it in an agile delivery mode. And it was really a careful evaluation behind it. And we decided to start with Applied Safe from Petco company as a lean quality management system. And for this, we started with the essential layer from SAFE, which is decomposed between program and team level. And this is also important for us to have these two levels, also from a company perspective with the various persons that are working in the Agile Release Train. It was also to formalize all this running Agile Release Train with all the current practices and to ensure that we still stay compliant with the law of Switzerland, but also from the European regulation that we need to follow. And so it was also this point that it's quite challenging, and we will come later on this compliance part to explain more in detail. And it was also managed by the process management and engineering team from the Skyguide to do it. And for this, as we say, it's built on applied safe. Maybe some words on applied safe?
Just 2-3 slides about applied safe. What we see in a lot of companies, and what we also see at Skyguide, they have done safe for 17 PI cycles, so they knew a lot already, was a lot of documentation. But you see that most companies we see, they have already some different positions of knowledge. So they have some process description, they have some Confluence pages, they have Excels, they have spreadsheets, they have the Scaled Agile Framework, and it comes down to an individual knowledge where the people are going for a treasure hunt for knowledge. We believe at Applied Safe that it's good to have one common place where all the knowledge of a company is, so that an organization can learn as a whole for itself. And that is the whole purpose of Applied Safe. We have a harmonized knowledge library of doing safe in an organization. And it's an implementation, it's an interpretation of the Scaled Agile Framework. We are always in sync with the SAFE framework, and each new version gets approved, officially approved by Scaled Agile, that it makes sense, what we have done there. And I think the biggest thing which we can do with that is that we can accelerate and consolidate the SAFE transformation. What means that? We have clear roles, with responsibilities, with the deliverables, which tool uses which activity. This is all defined in there, and people can use them very quickly. It has customization built in, and you can control individually on an instance base per program, per team, that they run differently, because teams run differently, programs are different, and so we can allow this diversity. Then compliance. Nobody likes it, but it's a must for a lot of companies, for most larger companies. We want to make sure that we fulfill those requirements, those regulations, and that we can prove it, that we adhere to it. That is the key question. And then, of course, we want to learn and innovate as an organization, and that is what Applied Safe all offers. We have several case studies. This is coming from our customers. These benefits, just very shortly. Master complexity has a built-in tailoring options of the framework. How many tailoring options are in the Scaled Agile Framework? 10, 50, 100? We found last year about 512. Yeah, now it gets bigger. And it's just in each sentence. If you need an architectural runway or not, do you want to do with that? Do you want to use participatory budgeting, yes or no? Do you want to work with OKRs? So these are these examples. And we have seen, and I will talk about that later in the compliance concept, that you can establish compliance. Then most important, what we saw from our customers is you can accelerate transformation, and we have less discussions needed to interpret safe. It doesn't mean that we don't need interpretations, but we have less interpretation, and the ramp-up time is reduced for new hires. Then, of course, you have all the relevant changes in SAFE, and you could do it by yourself, but you save 2 years of doing that. Okay, about the implementation approach, Nadia.
Yeah.
I just saw it's 15 minutes.
You need to shorten. Okay. So when we started, so the decision was taken, we use Applied Safe. The management decided. Okay. So we had a well-done training by Peter to learn what is Applied Safe, how we can customize it. And we really use it as a toolbox. As is explained, we are able to tailor it for all what you want. Whole work products, workflow, activities. It's really amazing for this. And we decided also to leave the standard content with the Applied Safe logo, because it was also a decision that we take to reuse as much as possible of what is modelized in Applied Safe. And to make the distinction between what is coming from Applied Safe and what is Skyguide specificities, we use the logo as differentiation between both content. And we use it really to alter and enhance all the content with what is our company-specific needs. And also with the tailoring, we are able to have a common element shared by the different type of teams that we have, but also to tailor it with the specificities due to the suppliers that we have, because some are still working in waterfall, and we need to cope with this. So here we can see the program level that we have currently in the Skyguide Agile release train. And for this, we started...
These are just all the processes which are used on program level as defined in Applied Safe. PI planning, PI execution, inspect and adopt, and so forth.
Yeah, so here all this part is more or less all what is coming from Applied Safe, where we customize, we adapt. Among them, the most that we adapt is the release governance. And after we add all what is really specific to our company, and where we need to do a safety assessment, ops procedure and training, interoperability. It's also linked to a European regulation, and we have to demonstrate it, and the deployment into operation. And all this is based on our current processes, activities, roles already defined in our quality management system.
And as you see here, these blue ones which are green or not changed at all, these are the discussions which you don't have to do, because this is defined. And they could use their time, their precious time, to talk about what means Agile in this, what matters for them.
Yeah, process. And now we will go more in deeper, for instance, in the process for architectural runway building. And for this one, you can see, maybe from your side first.
Yeah, so this is out of the box context. So in SAFE, we talk about refine architectural runway PI backlog. And you see here is the SAFE logo. This is the original content from the Scaled Agile Framework. It's a small part of one article. So this is kind of where you find the treasure and you don't have to hunt it. So this is just the knowledge which you need for this activity, together with some other information, and then you have it. And additionally, Skyguide.
And from our side, we decided to add what is specific content for Skyguide, as we have a work instruction describing also some parts of the architecture. And we integrate both. And here you can see that this one is really a Skyguide activity where we reuse the system architect engineer role from the Applied Safe. And we added all what is needed from our side for this. And so it's very helpful to have it as a toolbox and to pick what you need. Here it's another example for the deployment into operation. We need to have in place a stabilize and close release activity. So here with this activity, so it's a Skyguide one, but we reuse the existing work product in Applied Safe, so the feature, business feature, and we enhance it with the states. So as an input, they are in deployed, and at output, they are closed, because the release is finished. So all the elements are closed. And we also, for instance, enhance and add a Skyguide specific role in the shared service role that is already existing also in the SAFE framework.
Operational transition manager. Just imagine they have to deploy a system into a running system where the airplanes are still in the air. So this is hypercritical, so they have a specific role for that.
And how we share all this work that we do in terms of customization with a member of the Agile release train, how we train them. So with the first version, we set physical session for around 1.5 hours to all the 200-person part of the Agile release train to explain to them all this framework, the tool. And now we are using a learning management system that we have in place at Skyguide, where it's done directly as an e-learning form with several modules. So for instance, at the moment, we have the one that is the introduction to the Skyguide Agile release train. We have a module to explain how to navigate in the tool. because it's also helpful for them. Some quizzes also to ensure that the person has understood properly the content. And with what we are developing now, we will add a module, for instance, for the portfolio layer, as we started with Essential. And now the big topic.
Yeah, a little bit compliance topic. Yeah, everybody hates it. No, I love it. So scaled agility in regulated environments. We see a lot of requirements. Here we have the European Air Navigation Service and regulations, FAA, we have automotive spice, ISO 26262. There are hundreds of these reference models. And if you ask one specialist of each model, they will tell you they're so special. But they have varying levels of criticality. And if you look at them from a meta level, they all have very common things in place. So first, what they want to hear is, do you know what you are doing? Is it managed and described somewhere? And usually this is done with a quality management system. You just have processes in place, roles in place, deliverables, practices, principles, and so forth. If you have that, you want to make sure that they see it, that you have transparency in execution. That goes on, yes, they have done that. But they also want to see, do you have one description over there in the shelf which nobody reads, and it's so thick? Or is it something that you tailored, that you managed it, that you have configuration? CMMI already asked for it 20 years ago. So you want to tailor things. Can you prove the traceability? That's obvious. Verification, validation. How do you do that? Do you have engineering principles in place? Do you have practice in place, tools in place, and so forth? And nowadays with agile suppliers, how do you manage the contract? Supplier management, how is that help? So these are all the things. And if you have good answers to all these questions, you will get through any audit. And we have seen that with 27 reference models so far. And what a lot of companies are doing, if they start, we want to be compliant with CMMI or with ASPICE, they say, okay, we make it easy. It's a project for half a year, so let's hurry. And we just say, okay, we take the reference model. They talk about process area 1, we replicate that, practice 1, yeah. It's more or less a replica of the regulations. This leads to failure. These are typically the models which are in the shelf. They're produced for the QMS department and for the auditor, and nobody in the company knows. What is really much better is that you say, hey, we have our own model, the Skyguide process model, and we have Epic, Kanban, we have work products, software architecture document, configuration management plan, we have our roles, and we take those regulations, several, as our friends. Why are regulations here? Because things went bad in the past. That's why they are here. Who wants to crash in an elevator? And it doesn't crash because there are regulations there. So what we take them as friends, we say, oh, they mentioned that you should do that. Well, if you interpret that, that is more or less what we do here, and here in the SAFe framework. This work product they want to see, the documentation of the system engineering, well, that's in the software architecture document, and so forth and forth. This is harder. We call it a referential mapping. But it serves that you still do agile and fulfill all those requirements. That is really key. And SAFe has most of the hooks you need for regulated requirements. And this is just the way you can prove that and really use it. And then, of course, with that, you get compliant processes, but that doesn't help you at all. What you need is that you adhere to processes. So usually you create some metrics, where you say, okay, we have these artifacts, we count them, and if we count them, we bring them to derived metrics, and then, of course, you need to prove that you have trained your roles as well. One short example in safety roles, we talked about that Skyguide added the system safety role to shared services, and now I want to go to ISO 26262. Who knows that? That's functional safety in automotive with ASIL and so forth. And somewhere it says Project manager shall be appointed at the initiation of product development. Okay, good. Now you could say, do we need a role of project manager, or do we just say it's the product manager? Okay, it's the product manager. Now it says, as soon as you have the product manager, it shall ensure that a safety manager is in place. Safety manager, okay. Maybe it's a role which we don't need very often, so it's a role in shared services. It says here, safety manager can be also the product manager, or you can split between these roles and you teach all these roles. That's a design decision for process engineering. And once this is done once, and then it's clear for the whole company how you handle that. And these are your real problems. And then, of course, safety manager can delegate tasks. This going on to the agile teams. This is a conceptual view of how you can prove compliance and how you did it.
Yeah, so with this, so we expand Applied Safe with our own process and to integrate it really in our quality management system as requested by several European regulations. And with this, we had to get the approval from our national supervisory authority, which in Switzerland is FOCA, Federal Office for Civil Aviation. And for this, we share with them the Skyguide Agile Release Train work instruction on the staging area. We explain them how to navigate in the tool, how to find the information.
You showed them Applied Safe.
We show them Applied Safe also. Because we put at disposition Applied Safe without customization and with customization. In this way, they are able to see also the difference. And we gave a lot of question and answer session to ensure that we are compliant with what is requested in the various regulation. And finally, in July this year, they approved the method to be compliant with the quality management system. And so we have these two levels, as we started with the essential safe configuration. Whereas at the program level, we focus on what we call ATM release, and at the team level, we focus on application. And as explained before, we have several kind of team at Skyguide currently. And future work, so we will start to build the mapping to the reference model to ease our compliance management activities.
This is the process of being constantly in sync with the regulations. Just imagine a new version of SAFE comes out, then it's automatically approved.
Yeah, it's a way to demonstrate that we stay compliant. So, we did all this 4 months to implement. 4 months. Yeah, but it was huge work. It was really demanding. We work a lot also with Peter to really understand Applied Safe, how it works, how to modelize, how to tailor to our needs. And this was also to where we also internally we collaborate with the various departments involved in the Agile Release Train, either from a technical perspective, operational perspective, safety also, that we need to embark in the work instruction. It was also to really provide explicit role responsibilities. In this way, in this reference model, they are able to find really all the roles used in the Agile Release Train, and also who is endorsing the role, which is also sometimes important to have this point. One of the problems that we solve is that we have to handle a large amount of documentation. And with this approach, we will be able to reduce it and also to harmonize how it's done in all the teams. And also from the tools side, we are also able to harmonize the way they are used in the various teams. And for this, so we need 3 days of training from Peter to start our modelization in the tool. And after that, as explained before, 1.5 hours for all the person part of the Agile Release Train to learn. Because as we integrate all what was existing in our quality management system, a lot of parts were already known by the person. It was really more to explain how we will do what we did before in an agile way.
And you did a terrific job. You were a small team, and
small team.
I only did like 1 day support every second week.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah, for this. And so now some words on what we plan to continue to improve, to learn for the Agile Release Train. So we will extend to the portfolio safe configuration. So this is foreseen to be published the 13th of December, to have it at Skyguide. We will also extend our Skyguide self-learning with this new module for the portfolio. The mapping to the reference model, as explained before, to ease our compliance management activities. And we are thinking to extend our team levels to other kind of teams that are not really doing software development, but supporting the other team, and also to represent them in the framework.
So it's going more towards business agility for the whole organization. Yeah, cool.
Yeah, yes. So.
Well, 1 minute left.
1 minute.
Okay. I hope there are some questions here or discussions.
So, at first, thank you for your interesting talk. Are there any questions?
Hi, I'm Michael. Really interesting tool. I see the benefit of it. I'm just wondering, when I see safe implementations, there's always one big struggle in terms of you find an organization and you try to give every head a title. And basically the challenge that I see with this is that you really find a suitable matching where you, as you said, you took the project manager and aligned it somehow with a product manager, which at some topics will be a strong disagreement because of completely different roles in many ways. But how do you ensure that exactly those mistakes, if it's a mistake at all? I mean, the question is how you handle the role project manager at all. Is it really a product manager or project manager? Blah, blah, blah. So this is not the topic I would like to discuss, but how do you ensure that it's not only a matching of titles or words or processes, but rather do we get the processes right that maybe are wrong in the organization at all? Because this would make it super strong then, because I see the documentation and the shortcut you create with this kind of compliance ensuring tool and the matching with all those ISO regulations. I can feel you. I know from the automotive industry, basically. How do you ensure that, or do you do it as a consulting job, or how you do it?
Okay, thank you for the question. Nadia, I think I can answer that very well. That is a common problem. And the common problem we see, we are working internationally, and we have also several automotive clients in Germany. And the problem is that most people like to stick to that, what they know. And the first thing they know is their role. And if I talk about process engineering principles, which we have in Applied Safe as well, it's something that comes at the very end. The first thing you always need to understand in a work product, in a process model, is what are the deliverables which we want to have? What is our product and how is it built out of its components? So as soon as you have a clear understanding of what you want to deliver, the work products, you put them into relation, then you say, okay, these work products, that's how they are connected, but how are they transformed? This is with activities, and activities you group in process that it makes a logical sense. Once you have activities, you can say, who is going to perform that? So that is the role, and that is your decision point. So if you start discussing from the perspective of a role, you're on the wrong track. Because
Kill your structure.
Yeah. And one big mistake I see here in Germany, then the Betriebsrat comes in as well, that's the union's representatives. And the problem is that they don't differentiate between a role and the job profile. And then it's all the career and the salary and all that is bound to that specific role. So these are defined and defended. For example, in one big, large automotive company in the southern part of Germany, I just heard like some weeks ago, we have the role of a business analyst, and that sticks. And the business owner and the product owners, they talk with the business analyst, that they are not allowed to talk with the business, with the customer. That jeopardized the whole framework.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
That is a wrong understanding of roles, and this discussion you need to fear, but you need to have. But that is on a meta level, where we explain that you can't start a discussion about roles. Here you have to take back a step and get back to process engineering and say, what do we want to talk about? We are not talking about career profiles. We are talking about delivering a product which is existing out of components, and we are trying to bring Agile to work at the company. That's what we want to do. We don't want to start with the roles, and this is the wrong path. And it's how do you say?
It gives you a sweet spot which customers match to you. It gives you a sweet spot, but for which customers suit to your product.
Yeah,
it might be it must be small enough, and but also regulated enough.
Yeah, it's a failure pattern to talk about the roles in the first place.
We have 1 minute left. Oh, did you like?
Sure. Yeah. Unless you have another question online. Okay, great. By the way, I agree with jobs to be done rather than the role orientation. It's actually brilliant, and it matches where the workforce is heading, the fluidity that we're going. So transformations, safe transformations are really of interest to me. And I'm watching your presentation, and I know, okay, the obvious advantage is you pass an audit, right? But what are some of the less obvious advantages and benefits you've been observing from implementing such a model? To your transformations.
Yeah, what we first of all, we need to say all the safe trainings which you have in the implementation roadmap, they have to be taken anyway, like leading safe for teams. But that what we have seen after such a training, usually then the people go back and then it's the question, so what are we doing now, next week? And the exactly applied safe is solving this question, because it says, here's the principles, this is built on these principles, here are the roles. Now you can add to the value chain, even if you don't understand the whole framework, because nobody understands the whole framework after 2 days. But you can add to the value chain. You can survive and bring value, and that is the advantage in a transformation, and that makes you to accelerate. You reacted very hard here.
Yeah, because it's true. We had the training, we had the explanation. We already did some 17th program increment without really formalizing it in a written place. And we say, okay, now this is a lot of things. What we keep? What is really important for us? What is the added value for us? And it's the beginning of the 4 months that we use. It's we start at a program level. Each process, we say, okay, this one, no, we are not doing it. This one, oh, yes, maybe we keep it in. And we go in this way, one process by process, and also to match with what we have currently at Skyguide. Because it was also important for us, it was really to integrate it with what we have at Skyguide.
So I think we are at the time over. Thank you very much. If you want to hear some other stories or case studies, just get it from our website, or I have some printed out exemplars here as well.
Thank you again for your interesting insights you shared with us tonight. So you are the last talk today. So I will invite you for the closing session downstairs to get some last words for the day. We start tomorrow at 9:45. You can come here at 9 to have some coffee and meet other people. So thank you and good night.
Thank you.
Thank you.